All right, welcome back to the Truth Seeking Network. So today we're going to be talking about um, Michael Saylor. Michael Saylor has just bought in November. He bought $600 million worth of BTC in November and increased his holdings by 10%. Let me tell y'all something. There's not enough Bitcoin to go around for everybody. I don't know how to say this, and I really don't understand. But right now, you have an opportunity to get into Bitcoin, and we're letting all the rich people buy it all up. They understand what's about to take place in the world. They understand that Bitcoin is going to be the global reserve. And so they're positioning themselves right now to take advantage, to be in front. And there will be no excuse for anybody else to say that they didn't have a chance to buy Bitcoin when Bitcoin was actually given to everyone. I mean, it started out in the pennies, y'all. We could have literally got into Bitcoin for pennies. And so how many of us did it? As I stated in my last video, how many of y'all bought Amazon stock when it first came out, or Apple, right? But you had an opportunity, Home Depot, Chipotle, all these companies we had opportunity to get into early on, but we didn't do it. So why is that? Is there a disconnect in our brains? So we could see that everything is going crypto. In the future, the internet will have a digital money, right? And so the rich people now are positioning themselves to be in front of the bandwagon when this thing turns around. And when everybody understands that Bitcoin will be the reserve currency of the world. I mean, it's already on the stock exchange, y'all. On the CNBC, it sits on the TV every day. The Bitcoin price, Ethereum, right? It's a new asset class. You have an opportunity to get into the beginning of a new asset class. And most people won't do it because they listen to many other gurus like JP Morgan Chase. We're about to talk about him in a second. And this guy is so crooked. And these companies are so crooked. But you have an opportunity to get into an asset at the beginning of an asset class. Like I said last video, imagine getting in gold at the beginning or getting into something in the beginning, early beginnings of it. There's only 21 million Bitcoin that will be produced. It's the rarest asset on the planet. And yet most people are letting it go right by them. 8 billion people on the planet, 21 million Bitcoin. It's not enough for everybody. And sadly, there because these big guys like Michael Saylor on my screen and some of these other big players, they're buying them by the thousands. So every time they buy the Bitcoin by the thousands, there's none left for you. That means millions and millions of people won't get any Bitcoin. I hope y'all understand that. The more that they buy, the more that they hoard. And that millions of people will never get any. Bitcoin is supposed to be the people's money. And it still is. And you can buy the reason why it's called Bitcoin, because you can buy bits of it. You don't have to buy the full Bitcoin. Right now, it's trading at somewhere between $43,000 and $44,000 per Bitcoin. I've been doing videos since it was 15 to 16,000. You could actually got it then, and when they said Bitcoin was dead, but Bitcoin was never dead. And so a lot of these rich people are actually was pushing you away from Bitcoin while they were actually buying. So again, you have an opportunity to get in right now, still, while it's still early, before it goes to millions of dollars a coin. See, they know this. one Bitcoin is programmed to be 100 million Satoshi, equals 100 million Satoshi. Now, so says if a Satoshi was the price of $1, that means it'll be $100 million for one per Bitcoin. So these people like Michael Saylor or MicroStrategy, they're buying them up by the thousands. Do you understand that Bitcoin solves the fiat money problem? The dollar's inflating. Bitcoin is not. Okay? So MicroStrategy, the largest corporate holder of Bitcoin, boosted its holdings in November by buying some 16,130 BTC worth around $608 million at current prices. Wow. The Michael Saylor funded software developer bought the Bitcoin for around 593.3 million in cash and an average price of about 36,785 apiece, according to the regulatory filing on Thursday. It now holds 174,530 Bitcoin, bought at an average price of about $30,252 per coin. So he's up. Michael Saylor's up big time. So his average purchase price is around 30,000 and Bitcoin is trading around 44,000 at the moment. So what are we doing, y'all? Are you going to buy $500 worth? $1,000 worth? Because let me tell you something. Those who own the Bitcoin are going to be some of the richest people in the world. And right now you have an opportunity to buy some Bitcoin. Okay? You have an opportunity to get into Bitcoin. I'm not going to harp on this long because I say this over and over again. The opportunity is right in front of you right now. If you can, take advantage of it. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just telling you what I would do. Okay? I mean, how much furthermore are you going to see Bitcoin go up before you decide to take advantage of this situation? It was at 15, 16. When it was at 70,000 and dropped down, I remember many people said, oh man, they were so lucky. You got it at 15,000 and 16,000 and 18,000. Man, I wish I had the opportunity to do that. And the issue is, it actually dropped down where people could get into it. And guess what they did? They ran from it. A lot of people say, I know it's going lower. Or I don't want to lose my money. And so as it went down, they dropped out in fear. Instead of continually to dollar cost average in and buy, they sold out. Now looking back now we're back up at 47,000. Imagine if you would have been buying the whole time, this dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin. Okay? The bull market has not even started yet. But they're positioning themselves, these rich folk are positioning themselves to stay rich, to stay on top. So all I'm saying to you is follow the money. Just follow the money. Do what the rich are doing. If you want to be rich, then do what the rich are doing. Okay? That's all I'm saying. All right, look at the screen again. All right, so and this is what I'm talking about. This is JP Morgan or Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan Chase, as you see him on my screen. This guy is such a crook, and I can't even stand looking at him half the time. And so have a lot of us don't. This guy is such a liar and such a crook. And he's always in the news. He's always on CNBC talking as if he knows everything. But this guy is one of the biggest crooks in the world. And listen what he says about Bitcoin. JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon tells Congress that he closed down Bitcoin and crypto. Okay? This is what he says. Dimon, who has been historically critical about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, reiterated his concerns regarding how the asset can be used. He emphasized that the government has the power to enforce strict regulations or even shut down the entire crypto space. I've always been deeply opposed to crypto, Bitcoin, etc., said Diamond. The true use for its criminals, drug traffickers, anti-money laundering. This guy is such a crook. Anti-money laundering, tax avoidance, and that is a use case. This guy is one of the biggest crooks. His company has settled I don't know how many lawsuits for tax evasion and whatever. You talking about criminal, and then all they do is get a settlement. They never have any charges filed against them, and they always make settlements. But the money that they settle, for instance, if they have $100 million that they stole, 100 billion, they may make a settlement for $1 million or $2 million. They still win. In other words, nothing. They pay 2 million, they made 100 million. But this guy's one of the biggest crooks. Talking about fraud. He says Bitcoin, as he once labeled it, a fraud, and warned investors about its speculative nature. However, he has also acknowledged the underlying technology, blockchain, as having potential applications in various industries. Now, he also was trying to make a JP Morgan coin. The same man that said cryptocurrencies are fraud. You cannot listen to these people. And these are the people like him that will lead you astray. Big time. His company has been in the fraud for years. JP Morgan Chase, Jamie Dimon, the crook himself, calls Bitcoin a fraud. If Bitcoin was such a fraud, then it's spreading all around the world. Bitcoin is an asset. You can't call an asset a fraud. It's an asset. Is gold a fraud? No, because it's an asset. So this guy right here, like I said, do not listen to these type people. Okay? This is one of the biggest crooks out there. And let me show you. All right, so check out my screen. It says JP Morgan approves 290 million settlement with Epstein victims. The nation's largest bank was sued for ignoring red flags about Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking operations while he was a client. Now look at it. Now see, you think these banks, these big boys don't know what's going on? Of course they do. A federal judge on Thursday approved this settlement of a class action lawsuit in which JP Morgan Chase will pay 290 million to sexual abuse victims of Jeffrey Epstein who claimed that the bank ignored warning about the disgraced financier. And of course they did. The money being paid by JP Morgan, the nation's biggest bank, could provide compensation to nearly 200 victims of Mr. Epstein, according to the legal filing. JP Morgan and lawyers for the victims reached a preliminary settlement in June, averting a potential civil trial in federal court in Manhattan. And see, that's what they always do. Because they have so much money, they always settle. $290 million is nothing for a bank like this. So it's easy for them just to settle with the victims so they admit no wrongdoing, basically. Mm-mm-mm. The judge, Red Rakoff, gave final approval of the deal after holding an afternoon hearing to assess the fairness of the settlement to the victims. The settlement closes an important chapter in Epstein's saga, centering around the role of big banks in enabling his conduct to continue for nearly 2 decades. So, what was Jamie Dimon talking about fraud and banks and this and that? Let's find another article on Jamie Dimon's bank. All right. So here we go again. JP Morgan Chase and Co deferred prosecution agreement, pending criminal division cases. Now let's see what happened. On a September the 24th, 2020, JP Morgan Chase and JP Morgan entered into a deferred prosecution agreement with the Department of Justice and agreed to pay a total criminal monetary amount of whatever that is. I think that's 920,203,609 in a criminal monetary penalty, criminal disgorgement, and victim compensation. The DPA arises for criminal charges related to two discrete schemes to defraud involving unlawful trading activity in the markets for precious metals, future contracts, the markets for the U.S. Treasury future contracts, and the secondary cash market of the U.S. Treasury notes and bonds. According to court documents on March 2008 and August 2016, numerous traders and salespeople on JP Morgan's precious metal desk located in New York, London, and Hong Kong engaged in a scheme to defraud in connection with the purchase and sale of gold, silver, platinum, and palladium futures contracts. Collectively, precious metals future contracts that traded on the New York Mercantile Exchange and the Commodity Exchange Inc., COMEX, which are commodity exchanges operated by the CME Group. In tens of thousands of instances, traders on the precious metals desk place orders to buy and sell precious metal futures contracts with the intent to cancel those orders before execution, including an attempt to profit by deceiving other market participants through the injecting false, misleading information concerning the existence of genuine supply and demand for precious metals future contracts. So I'm not going to read the full article. You can read this whole thing yourselves. And this is the same JP Morgan Chase that just told you that Bitcoin was for fraudsters. What do you say? Tax evasion. It was a scheme. It was a scam. Everything else. So how is he going to talk about fraud when this is his bank, JP Morgan Chase? And there's way more articles than this. You got articles settlements dating back forever. 2013, there was a settlement. On and on. These big banks are the biggest fraudsters that's destroying our country today. And they have the nerve. And the reason why he hates Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is nothing but a ledger that tells the truth. So of course he hates Bitcoin, because Bitcoin makes you tell the truth. Every transaction is logged on a ledger. It cannot be lied. You cannot lie in Bitcoin when it's on the ledger. So everything is on a ledger for everybody to see. It's transparent, which JP Morgan Chase is not. As you can see just from these couple of articles that I put up to prove to you that they are the fraudsters, and they hate Bitcoin because Bitcoin makes them tell the truth. Bitcoin stops an inflation. Okay? So that's why they don't want you in the Bitcoin. Bitcoin is going to change a lot of the fraud out of the world today. It's going to pretty much clean up a lot of it. But see, they want to stop it by all means. They want to stop Bitcoin, because if this ledger of truth goes to everybody and it's for everybody, anybody to get, then each transaction would be sound. And it won't be cases like fraud like that they can do manipulating the markets no more. Because right now with fiat currencies, more drugs, more sexual misconduct is being more money laundering is being done with what? Fiat money, fiat currencies, or basically the dollar bill. The dollar bill is untrackable, untraceable. So pretty much, if you could buy anything under the table. Drug deals are done under the table with dollar bills, right? You see it in the movies all the time. You see the drug cartels with suitcases of money and drugs. So they won't want to use Bitcoin because Bitcoin will show on a ledger what you used the Bitcoin for. But with dollar bills, they can just keep printing it to oblivion, just keep printing money. We don't even know how much money out there. They just keep printing it. All right, y'all. So I'm not gonna get into a bunch of these things, but I want to show you something. Look, it says, what was the fine for JP Morgan in 2013? In November 2013, JP Morgan Chase, the nation's largest bank, agreed to pay a then record 13 billion fine to federal and state authorities in order to settle claims that it had misled investors in the years leading up to the financial crisis, right? And then they got fines like you can just go put a year in, and how much did they look at this. JP Morgan Chase has paid 38 whatever that is. Wow, that's a big number. And fines for banking securities additional violations as new SEC enforcement action kicks in. These people have been paying fines forever. Here's something in 2012, right here. Um, let's see. JP Morgan Chase agrees to pay 75 million. Oh, that's Jeffrey Epstein. We already went over that one. But on and on. Look at this. What was the fine for JP Morgan in 2012? JP Morgan Chase agreed to pay 920 million in total fines for the US and UK authorities. JP Morgan Chase cut chief executive Jamie Dimon's 2012 pay in half from 23 million to 11.5 million as a consequence for the 6 billion trading loss. So, I'm just showing you that the same people that's calling Bitcoin a fraud, the same guy that sits on TV and CNBC and all over your internet talking about the government should shut down Bitcoin before fraud. His company, JP Morgan Chase, who he is the head of, has been for years, and you can find many articles for years, making settlements and fraud, which we just read over and over again. Don't let these people steer you out of Bitcoin. Okay? That's all I'm saying to you. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. And I'll catch y'all on the next one. This is the Truth Seeking Network. Peace till next time. And I'm out.